Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Otafest podcast. This is season 6, episode 23, and I'm here with Jay and
Hello.
Angelo.
Hello.
My lovely people.
Hello, lovely people.
Hello.
Bonjour, Jay et Nancy.
Bonjour.
23 episodes later.
I never learned French.
Did you not? Did you not take French in school?
I took 2 years of French, and then I was like, I'm out because I already have a second language. I'm good.
I did French immersion until grade 4.
I mean, English is the second language, by the way. So
Did you do... I don't know when you guys first started learning French, but I remember they started teaching us in grade 4.
Kindergarten.
So I basically had
I got it in 5 and
French
6.
from grade 4 until 9.
Wait, seriously? You guys seriously didn't start French until like grade 4 and 5?
I started in grade 5, and then I took it for grade 6, and then I was like, cool.
What the fuck? Wait, you had an option to not before grade 9?
I lived in BC and Alberta.
What the fuck?
I guess the further removed from the east that we are.
You lived in Ontario.
Yeah. No, well,
Sacre bleu.
I don't know what it would have been like for the early grades, but literally from junior kindergarten up until grade 4, I was in French immersion.
How much did you retain?
Not enough.
Yeah. That's a little
Je
sad.
peux parler peu de français, mais c'est très difficile pour moi.
I feel like if you were like in Quebec for like a month, you would pick it back up.
I'd start picking it back up.
Yeah. So that's always a good thing.
I have faith in you, Angelo.
The hardest part would be rebuilding my
She has
accent.
faith in you, Angelo.
I actually used to have a pretty damn good French accent, and now it's pretty damn weak.
I just use the Spongebob narration.
Yeah, it's the kind of accent that would get you slapped upside the head.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, most likely. Most likely. Hence, we use it humorously here on the podcast.
Exactly.
And on Spongebob, because I'm a big fan of the Bob. Seasons 1, 2, 3.
How many seasons are they at now?
Many.
Like 40?
They do have many. Not as many as
Maybe
The Simpsons,
80?
but they do have many.
Season 12 currently.
Oh, wow.
Holy.
Yeah.
Less than I thought, actually.
Damn.
Did the quick googs. Well, we're not that old. We're not. If it had 40 seasons, we'd be like
I don't
60.
know. I feel like SpongeBob is eternal.
Well, he is.
SpongeBob the
I mean, we're at
Eternal.
season 6 already. We've
SpongeBob
existed
the
like
eternal
half
one.
as much as SpongeBob has.
You know, I'm not going to lie. I did not think the podcast was going to start this way. But I will also say that I kind of started it. So I
You
instigated
did this to
It
yourself.
was you.
I did this.
You know what you've done.
No, you blame the English.
I mean,
All
blaming
right.
the English is generally speaking a valid tactic.
Yeah. That's all the rage I hear.
If you can't blame the Quebecois,
in Europe.
blame the English.
Right. No, I'm saying in
boy.
Europe, that's blaming the English or the British. That's like a pretty solid tactic. Anyway, how are you doing, Nance?
I've been going through withdrawal because I don't have my gaming laptop and I haven't had it for like a week and a bit and it's killing me.
Have you tried injecting
Slowly.
gigahertz?
Yeah. What about
Have
downloading more
I
RAM?
tried downloading more RAM is the
Yeah.
actual question. And the answer is I don't have a laptop to download more RAM with, so I
Gasp.
guess not. So no more Cyberpunk for me.
Have you not played any games in the last bit?
No games. Lots of watching Expanse, lots of watching Discovery, lots of watching
Just watch Twitch streamers.
The Great.
Live vicariously through
Yes.
their gaming.
A
I
little
certainly
bit.
do, actually. I also watch this one dude who does lots of animating and like pixel art and stuff. Yeah.
Mm.
Nice.
Great time. Great time.
Do you, either of you, avoid watching Twitch streams of games that you haven't played but want to play?
Yes.
Yes,
I do
because
as well.
I don't want the spoilers.
Yeah, like not that spoilers are huge, but at the end of the day, like if I know I'm gonna play the game one day, I just don't want to watch the Let's Play of it. The Let's Plays are only acceptable for me whether it's a game that I know or a game I don't think I'm gonna play, and it, like through time I'm like, oh, this game is interesting, but I've already learned a lot about it. That's okay. I still want to play. That's like the
Yes.
next level
It's
of
been
it.
like 4 years and I'm still avoiding Nier Automata spoilers.
Nice. I am too, because I just started playing it, like, before my laptop got taken away.
Yeah, I feel the same way about a lot of like old RPGs that I still want to get at. Like I don't watch Final Fantasy 9 playthroughs. I haven't played through that.
Oh, yeah.
I still don't know
Oh,
how
yeah.
Chrono Trigger ends, and someday I'm going to find out.
I'm actually I'm in
Someday.
the same boat. Chrono Trigger is also
I
something
too.
that I haven't finished.
So, considering that I love the soundtrack so much for Chrono Trigger because I've heard so many tracks from it so much over the years,
Right.
but I still haven't finished the game. I'm still in good territory. And I think this goes right back to our discussion from like the week before where we talked about how we don't really like to subscribe to the hype machine because we want
Yeah.
to go into a game and form our own opinion and not, avoid too many spoilers. So same deal. I don't like to watch too much of it. Like if it's a streamer friend of mine that I like to support, I'll leave their stream on and I'll just tell them that I'm lurking cuz spoilers. But yeah, I'm the same way.
Yeah, it's just generally the idea like I don't think it's not bad to avoid that content because you do want to sort of experience it honestly, even though like the content, for example, like Chrono Trigger is like 30 years old or whatever it may be. It's like it'd still be nice to have fun with like playing through it with like more or less a fresh idea of what's happening in it. That being said, there's some great games that so GTA 5 is still a game that I play and it's like 7 or 8 years old at this point. I didn't get GTA 5 until it was probably 3 or 4 years after its original release, but I got it because I kept on watching. I saw a lot of Let's Play content where like it was really fun. It looked really fun. Playing with some friends or just even the story stuff. So I was like, that got me into it. So it's like it's definitely a weird balance about like what gets you into a game versus what can ruin a game that you're planning to play, but they are definitely separate categories.
Have you ever watched a streamer play a game that you previously had no interest in, and then they do something stupid, and you're like, I want to play this game just so I can do it right because this streamer's an idiot?
Okay,
Wow.
not quite that, but
No, yeah.
I've seen people
I'm not as
play a game
vindictive.
where it's like, oh, that is pretty cool. I'd like to try that myself.
But I mean, I also learn about a lot of games, like because we've talked about like how there's so much content as it is, so you don't really need to pick up games day one. But there's also a lot of games that like you learn about, that you might want to learn, like start playing. Like, I'm looking at my currently installed games list right now, and like I said, like Gary's Mod, GTA 5, Phasmophobia, Wreckfest. These are all games that like I wasn't necessarily looking for, but they looked fun, so I wanted to get them too. It's like it's like word of mouth nowadays.
Yeah,
It's the
I've
equivalent.
just like many people got into PUBG specifically because I saw streamers playing it, and I was like, this doesn't look that hard.
Were you wrong?
I need to actually get back into
Honestly, I was wrong. It is that hard, but I have no desire to ever play it again.
that. Oh, I was just gonna ask you if you wanted to play again. I thought about installing it.
No,
just
there's
now.
so many hackers in it, and the last time I played,
really?
the last time I installed it, it doesn't
Oh.
even have the files to run with AMD graphics.
Ooh.
Like it was straight up. It's like, oh, I installed
That's
it.
weird.
Why is it crashing? It's like, oh, I Googled the error. It's like, oh, you have an AMD graphics card.
Right.
Delete this file and change this configuration in this text
That's
file,
wild.
and then you can play the game.
Wild. Yikes.
This was after the game was already released, by the way. Finished
Yeah.
game,
big,
BTW.
big yikes.
PUBG is a done
BT
game.
Yeah.
Yikes.
I guess I won't get back into it because I don't know if I'll have a squad to run through. And I don't really want to play solo. I reinstalled Valorant.
Just play Fortnite or Apex or literally any other battle royale.
I'm not gonna play a lot of battle royales, but I'm gonna play Valorant. Probably, I feel like it's too late to get into Fall Guys. I don't really want to get into Fall Guys anymore.
Valorant is like a battle royale, except you respawn after like 5 minutes.
I mean,
And there's a team.
yeah.
You know what? Valorant is just the last part of battle royale of PUBG with full squads.
I guess.
That's one way of looking at it.
I really just think of it as a Counter-Strike variant that...
I mean, that's literally what it is. I'm taking the piss right now.
You sure are. I don't want to get back into Global Offensive, so I'm probably not... I already have Valorant installed. I just need to get back into it a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm just looking at all the games that
Want to play after recording?
Games. Valorant? Sure.
Damn it, you guys and your gaming machines.
Yeah, I have 2 of them.
Yeah, meanwhile, I'm sitting here and going, what book
none.
can I read that I've been meaning to read?
You can watch Angela and I play Valorant.
Are you both going to stream it? Because I will.
I mean, we can.
One of us can. Well, I mean, we both could.
One of us
I just
can?
I don't stream.
Jay is better
Fine.
equipped for it,
You don't
Mr.
have to.
3090.
I'm actually way more equipped. It's not even about the 3090, dude. I could just fire up the old machine and that could be my stream PC, too.
Yeah.
Don't forget.
Dear
I have...
Lord.
I could run a 1080 just for streaming, and that's still ridiculous.
Wow.
It's like I have a gross misuse of the equipment that I have. Like I'm surrounded by pretty high level tech overall, and it's like this guy's just spending time reading like the news and watching like hockey
Reading
games.
the news.
And
watching 4K,
news.
120 FPS.
170.
Speaking of the news.
Thank you.
Speaking of the news.
The news.
CES happened.
It did. I heard about it.
And
It was
did we
okay.
see anything that we liked?
You know what the most satisfying thing about this CES was? That, for once, not even journalists can go to CES. Just like
Are
the
you
rest
jealous
of us.
of them? Oh, I don't really care.
Honestly, I never
Like-
wanted to go to CES.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
not very interesting.
So the thing about CES, or Consumer Electronics Show, as some people may know it, if you've never heard of it for some reason, it's filled with a lot of conceptual stuff. Like a lot of the stuff is pure concept. Some of it does move into production phase and like actual general availability. It's kind of interesting if you want to know about like the stuff that like new tech protocols that are happening, new technology that's happening, like what type of new screen technology there could be or whatever. But a lot of it is essentially vaporware on display.
It really
that being
is.
said, it's sort of interesting. There's a lot of variety. There's a lot of like home appliances. There was like a Keurig style ice cream maker, so you just put it in like an ice cream pod thing and they would make ice cream for you. And while that's interesting, you could also just go to the grocery store and buy
ice cream.
Ice cream.
Real ice cream.
Yeah, like it's
Yeah.
not that like
Like,
we were
the
sort
ice
of
cream
waffling.
It's
pods-
ice cream with
Yeah.
extra steps. What's
I
the
just want
point?
like we were saying, like we were waffling between like, because when you look at it, they're all like conceptually they're sort of interesting. There's like a solar powered vehicle sort of, or at least it could draw some solar power for the use of the vehicle. There were like the most practical thing were definitely like the mask innovations, because we're saying like, in a post-COVID world, masks are still going to be more relevant. So you might as well sort of incorporate good tech into them and make them better quality. They're not just like disposable throwaways, but they could be more like headphones in a way, But the truth of the matter is that a lot of them are just crap. Like they're like, what could we come up and then make it like polish, like make a shiny turd out of an idea? And it's like, well, there's a lot of things you could do, and
Let's
that's
make
what
a
CES sort of
driverless
is.
party van.
Yeah.
Yes.
Pro tip,
Yes,
every
if you ever just
driverless
wanna-
van is going to be a party van at one point or another, Cadillac.
Exactly. I mean, there are. I
That's
would
a
argue
good
that.
point.
I mean, let's put it this way: there's a lot of party vans with drivers. As it is, it's not a big deal if you know what I mean. They already exist.
They do.
I don't know.
My
I don't
favorite
know.
thing that I saw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Go ahead.
My favorite thing that I saw was probably like something that actually had applicable value on the market was probably the roll-up screen phones. Because those ones
don't
are
know how
actually
I
a
feel
really good
about
alternative
those.
to a folding phone.
I don't know how I feel about those, but I'm willing to see
Like, I'm
where
looking-
they're going with them. I just don't
Yeah.
know. Like, do I want a measuring tape for a phone? The answer is no.
Honestly, when it comes to like foldable or flexible screens,
Yeah.
I don't know what the best use case for them is. Obviously, they're very cool. Obviously. But I think that phones or mobile devices is one of the worst uses for them.
Here's what I can give you for that specifically. I think it would be cool for anything that's like travel specific or survival specific. So we're talking about satellite type phones, things that are like that need to be a little bit more rugged. So like while they're in the case, they take up a lot less space. They're sort of compacted inside a case, and then when you unroll it to use or whatever, but it's like specifically sort of rugged design in a manner of speaking. So it's like you're out in the middle of nowhere. It hooks up to satellite signal versus just your typical cell tower signal and stuff like that. That I could see a use for.
It would be more rugged and better battery life.
What?
No screen.
Fair.
I mean,
but
true.
Okay, so here's the thing. The current generation of smartphones have what are we at? Corning Gorilla Glass 6 now?
Sure.
We've had all these generations of Gorilla Glass to try and prevent the inevitable scratches that happen on your screen because nobody has flip phones anymore. Can you imagine how scratchable a roll-up flexible screen would be?
They're very scratchable. Extremely scratchable.
Yeah.
And if you have a roll-upable, what did you call it, a measuring tape? Like a measuring tape style screen, if anything is on that screen when you roll it up, it's screwed. It's gone. It's
Remember
garbage.
how the first generation of the Samsung Fold, people were getting bumps under the screen within hours because dust was getting under the hinge?
Interesting. I didn't know that, but
yes,
that sounds plausible.
Samsung had to completely stop the rollout. Like, these phones were going to stores, they were on the trucks on their way, and Samsung had to be like, shut down everything. Do not sell a single one of these phones. Every single one of them are going to get returned by the end of the first day.
I really wonder about sort of why there is such a push for these products, because that's sort of the other, that's the problem that I have with CES as a whole, to a certain extent. It's just the idea that a lot of these are interesting concepts, but why are we pushing for these? Because it's like Ian Malcolm said in Jurassic Park, about the scientists who are like, they were more preoccupied about whether they could versus whether they should, and it's like, what is the point? What is the point? Like, why do I need a roll up phone? And it's like, it just doesn't call me closed-minded about it, but it's just like, I don't quite understand why you're selling me this, why you're trying to sell me this. To be fair,
I don't think I ever understood the Galaxies that had the edges, the one where the screen folded over the left and right edges, and your thumb kept hitting them.
Well, because you could put they were trying to put buttons on the side, essentially.
In the case of a folding phone specifically, the idea there is that you have a screen the size of a tablet in your pocket, which is appealing to some people. But the reality is it's still a very niche use case. And the reason why these are getting coverage at CES, especially the more absurd and the more niche a product is that you think you see at CES, the exact reason it's being marketed at CES is because they know that maybe 10 people in the entire world are going to buy them, and they want all 10 people to know that it exists.
I guess you're not wrong in that regard. I think it's almost like a throwing spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks idea, where they'll put it out there and we don't know if it's really a good idea, but we'll put it out there and other people will tell us whether it's a good idea or not, to see if there's a determinant.
Keurig ice cream thing, for example, to be a long-term viable product, you need to get a critical mass of people with the machine so that you can actually sell the pods in stores, right?
Yeah, the pods that are the size of a Red Bull can.
I was gonna say I eat a lot of ice cream when I want ice cream.
Those machines,
yeah.
You need as much of a customer base as fast as possible, just so that you can justify having these Red Bull cans of ice cream in stores for the people who actually went out and spent like 1,000 or 1,800 or 18,000 on your machine, however much it costs.
I would think, I'm going to make an assumption that the ice cream maker has to be hooked up to a water source, so it sort of can be like an ice maker as well, because
or it just
there's
has a
no
bottle
way
attached.
It's very difficult to cool down something, generally speaking, to that point without ice being involved. Like
yeah, probably.
Like ice cream makers just have ice,
or maybe it just has like a
regular ones,
a bucket that's directly attached to like the refrigerant reservoir. I don't know.
Possibly.
I don't know. Maybe it works the same way that an air conditioner does, but
Yeah.
then it'd be pumping out a lot of heat up the back.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no matter what it is, if it's cooling things down, like your fridge, your freezer, they cool things down the exact same way that an air conditioner does.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The other one, which is like an interesting sort of maker, was a matcha tea maker, but again, it seems like more sort of it's $500 or something, $400 to buy. Like they're actually coming out with it. But I was like, matcha tea is pretty simple. You buy the matcha tea, the powder, you add some hot water, you get your whisk out, put it in a bowl, and like 30 seconds later, you have matcha tea. Like I don't.
But Jay, why would I spend 30 seconds whisking my matcha powder when I could spend $500 on a machine to do it for me?
Like, unless I have, like, I don't know, severe arthritis, which I get. Like, that's a lot of the thing that people tend to forget, like infomercial stuff, where it always looks insane about why you would need a product. A lot of it's actually accessibility related, and
I'm
I
fairly
don't have
certain
that
for $500, I could buy myself a child to whisk my matcha for me.
It's true. It's true.
We've gone over this, Angela. You can't buy children.
You can. You shouldn't. But you can. Absolutely you can.
But we shouldn't.
We shouldn't. I can agree with that.
We at Otafest are not saying that you should. But remember, volunteering is also a viable
For
option.
the
You
glory
don't
of
have to think
Otafest.
Yes.
Hey,
Make me
Jimmy,
matcha.
want some matcha? I have this whisk here. All you have to do is whisk it around for 30 seconds and you can have some matcha too.
Yeah, exactly.
Jimmy, I need my matcha fix.
Yeah.
Well, there was like a couple of interesting like mask innovations that looked neat. Like Razer made.
We're going to talk about the Razer one. Hell yeah.
Yeah, the Razer Mask was interesting because that one is actually like it's a plastic shield.
Yeah, it's
but
functional.
it has the N95 filter spots, and then it's also LED lit in the back so that people can actually see your mouth, which is something that most people haven't really seen in the last year.
It's true. I will say the worst thing about that mask, right off the bat, is because, and this is the problem with any mask that you can see clear to the face. If someone sneezes, it's
gross.
not going to look good, and it's not going to be fun to clean.
Nice.
Especially
No.
because electronics are involved in that one. That being
Yeah, that
said,
one's
it
not
would
so
still
great.
be pretty cool. Like, I think we're moving into, like, yes, a lot of people have cloth masks, and most people will have cloth masks or sort of much simpler ones, but we are, not surprisingly, there is a real market, I think, for a more permanent, cooler design for masks, because we're moving into a world that's like mask wearing should be more prevalent on a regular basis. Not all the time,
Actually,
but a lot of the time. And it should be okay.
speaking of, did you notice anything about like an anti-fogging layer on like coating on it or anything? Because like
You're not trying to see
if
through
it's
the
gonna
mask.
be
It's okay if it fogs up.
well, I mean, yeah, but if you're going to be breathing and the intent is to let people see your mouth, it's going to block the view.
Yeah, I
I
would
mean,
say
it's already tinted, so
I
That's
agree
true,
with
it's
all of
tinted.
that. I'm still hooked up on the cleaning of it, because just throughout the course of the day, even if you don't sneeze into it, you're just talking and spitting. Like, it just happens through the thing. So it's like,
So what you're telling me
My
is that
other
people who
masks-
spit a lot when they talk are going to
Potentially.
find out very
that's
quickly.
everybody, to be honest, and it just builds up over time, even if it's not like super visible. But what I'm trying to say is
Totally.
that people can't just throw it in, like my cloth masks.
if you
I
don't
can throw it into the
clean
wash.
Yes, this is true. If you don't
Right?
clean your cloth masks as it is, you're disgusting. But The fact that this suddenly you have lights, you have LEDs, you have RGB, you've got batteries going on, you've got charging ports supposedly.
I want to point out some other masks as well, real quick. There's one called AirPop Smart Mask, which is it monitors air quality. So we're not saying that it has like an amazing filter feature, but it is sort of like being able to judge your local air quality. It's not going to be able to detect disease, but it would be for like smog or pollen, maybe other things like that. I thought that was pretty interesting. And another one which basically focused on having a, how was I to say, like a Bluetooth microphone, so you can sort of, when you're talking on your phone, obviously sometimes the mask can distort some of the noise that's coming through, so they just put a microphone into the mask so that you can talk at a lower volume for one thing, and also just have the sound come out clearer, which I thought was pretty interesting, because I think on one side of the mask strap also there was a bit of a earpiece to come with it. So those are all pretty like small innovations, I think, but like more practical than some of the
mask with a Bluetooth headset built in is actually not a bad idea,
right?
I was gonna say it first until you said there was the headpiece in there. It's like, yeah, that seems kind of silly, but no, that's okay. That's okay.
It's not like mind blowing, but I mean, it could become like a pretty regular sort of feature.
The better thing being that because there's a mask there, it completely hides the microphone and it obfuscates the headpiece, so you don't look like some tool who's wearing a Bluetooth headset.
Weird question, but does that almost like go into like spy equipment technology?
No,
like you're all like you could record a conversation by standing there with your mic on. Is that weird?
I don't think so, because realistically, cell phone microphones are good enough that you could record the conversation with the cell phone in your pocket as it is.
Yeah, that's true. That's happened before. I actually recently read a news article about these two robbers that did like a break and enter, except during the course of the break and enter, they accidentally dialed 911, like they butt dialed 911.
What?
And then and as they were going, they could literally like the it went through to the cops. They could listen on the conversation and what they were doing, and obviously you can triangulate the phone location over time. So it was very unfortunate for these robbers.
How the fuck do you butt dial that? Jeez.
Well, every phone, every cell phone has an emergency 911 function.
Yeah, on the lock screen.
Oh, so they would have butt dialed the ICE number.
The lock screen.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was pretty funny. I didn't hear like the actual phone call. They didn't release that, but it was like that's the whole gist of it. I was like, all right, sounds good.
Yeah. Actually, now that I think about it, I'm surprised that butt dialing 911 doesn't happen more often.
It does. It happens a lot. A lot. You know what's better than all the sort of vaporware hardware is non-vaporware games. I like it when I get release dates. We talked about that recently too, about like how like some games like they'll announce a game trailer like way ahead of time, and then like God knows when you're actually gonna get the game and the quality of that game.
So I heard the release date for new Pokemon Snap is April 1st.
Yeah, or is it April 1st? I thought it was April 30th.
I hate it when things say that they're launching on April 1st because I never know if that's real.
I made up that it was on the 1st.
I think it's on the
April
30th or something.
Thank God.
But I'm looking forward to it. I still don't have a Switch. I'm probably not going to get a Switch for a while until the Pro comes up like we were talking about. But it looks like your generic Pokemon Snap game. My only problem I have with it right now is in this day and age, I don't know if a Pokemon Snap game, unless it has like a lot of different Pokemon and a lot of different locations, would be worth a $70 price tag, which I assume it's going to hit. Because otherwise it's just a rail shooter, you know?
Do Switch games go for $70?
Yeah, dude.
Or $80?
Yeah, they do.
$70-$80, yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay.
That's Nintendo pricing for you.
Mario Odyssey, like they have the market. They are their own market for one
Honestly, Nintendo could charge $200 for it, and a lot of people who remember playing the original Pokemon Snap would still buy it.
It's true.
Nobody else would, but those people who played original Pokemon Snap would buy this for $200, and they would love it.
Man.
I'm going to go ahead and say that on the Switch, Snap is a great game for the Switch. It's also a great game for like the 3DS or the Wii U, but that's not what they came out for. So it's going to be a good game on the Switch. I just don't know. I'm curious to know what the price is. They actually haven't announced the price, but I'm making the assumption, I think fairly safely, that it'll be at least $60, closer to $70, maybe the $80 premium price, depending on how they feel about that. And I don't know if a rail shooter photography game, even though it's Nintendo.
What if they
Pokemon,
use the online functionality to change it up weekly, though?
I don't know if that's better or worse.
Like, the thing about original Pokemon Snap is that it's formulaic. You can, like, min-max that game to literally speedrun Pokemon Snap as fast as possible.
Yeah.
To the point where, well, we're, like, here, sitting here 25 years later, where realistically, Pokemon Snap is a solved game. It can't give you anything new. Whereas
basically.
The new Pokemon Snap, as it's called, because it's an online game, they could change things. They could change it by frequency of what time of day you're playing, what month of the year you're playing.
They could
hide so
much.
It goes into the whole idea though of like, do you want a full complete game or do you want a game that's dynamic in that nature? It's hard to say. I wouldn't mind it if it was sort of like how Animal Crossing is with seasonal.
When you consider all the different mechanics that they've put into the Pokemon games over time, like Gold, Silver, Crystal, they had the day and night cycle.
Yep.
Later on, there were Pokemon who changed the looks based on the seasons. Like,
ooh.
No, it's not based on season. It's based on time still, most of them.
Wasn't there that one deer Pokemon who, depending on the season or what season you evolved them in, their second form had like different flowers or
I know what you're talking
such.
about. That's like, I just don't know if it was actually based on seasons.
Okay.
Because seasons don't really like there's areas in the game though. There's some games that are like some areas in the map that would be snowy and some areas that would be hot, for example.
Okay.
So it might be related to that. But anyway, like I understand where you're coming from. It wouldn't be a bad idea. I'm curious to see, like, there's been very little marketing overall. I wonder how many species are in the game because there's over 700 Pokemon now, you know?
Jesus.
Yeah.
But like there's a difference between the base games where you need quote unquote, but you have 700 plus Pokemon, probably closer to 800 or more because I haven't played a Pokemon game in a long time now. But like the idea would be that you're battling with them, so there's like variety, but you're just taking pictures of these ones. So how many Pokemon do you need to take pictures of? Do you want to take pictures of 800 Pokemon or 900 Pokemon or whatever the number is right now?
Yes.
The answer is basically yes.
And I want to share them to Twitter with a single button.
Which you can.
Wow.
Are they actually doing that? Are they actually adding social media sharing to this game?
They've had social media
forever. Or is
forever.
that built into the Switch?
That's built into the Switch.
Okay.
Oh,
that's just part of the screenshot
that's
function.
A surprise.
It's just like you press the screenshot button on the Joy-Con controller. It takes a snap instantly. It's one of my most pressed button. Like when I had a Switch, it was one of my most pressed buttons by accident. I'm sure it is for a lot of people.
By accident. It was always an accident.
Not always, but like a lot of the time.
It was always an accident for me.
And then yeah, you can send it off to social media. You can link your account. So it's pretty cool actually. But I need more details. That's the only thing. Like I'm excited because I love Pokemon Snap. It's a sort of very chill, fun game as they tend to be. But it's like I kind of, now that Angela brings it up, I wouldn't mind a rotating, sort of cast and a rotating options for things that could happen. But in the original Pokemon Snap as well, you could change the routes that you were taking. It wasn't just a single branch. You could like branch off into slightly different areas or explore new ones if you activated like secret buttons or whatever.
You know what would be kind of cool? Hey You
No.
Pikachu, but with the back end of like Siri or Hey Google. So like you could actually give Pikachu complex commands and the voice recognition would just fly with it.
I never played Hey You Pikachu, did you?
It was the most frustrating, most awful game, and I regret paying $115 for it in 1999 or whatever it was.
That's insane,
What?
dude. Yeah, I'm
Crazy.
I understand where you're coming from, and they could build that into Pokemon Go. Honestly.
They could.
But they won't. But
But
they
they
would
maybe won't.
in Pokemon Go 2. Sorry, new Pokemon Go.
They would call it
I feel like
that.
if you did have Hey You Pikachu commands, the only thing that they would respond with is like Chew, and that would be it.
No. What I'm saying is like literally the game. Hey You Pikachu, it was a game where the whole point was you controlled Pikachu. You asked him to do things with your voice, right?
Yeah.
But the
I know,
the voice
but like if
commands
we
were
had an
so
Alexa
weak,
integration
so
with that,
horrible, so just frustrating to actually make work. If it used the voice recognition of like Siri or Google or even Alexa, it could actually feel like such a seamless experience as if you were actually talking to Pikachu. And it wouldn't be the frustrating thing where you're telling Pikachu to use Thunderbolt for the 100th time and he never does it because the timing isn't right and he's not cooking the apple. Cook the goddamn apple, Pikachu.
And you're just like, Pikachu, please, the food is for you. You'll starve if you don't Thunderbolt this apple.
Please, Pikachu, please.
Right? But yeah,
I mean, if we had like a Hey You Pikachu stand-in command for like the Google Nest or with an Alexa or whatever, that'd be fun. It'd just be cute.
Hey Pikachu, set a timer. Pika Pika. That'd be great.
All right.
That'd be great. I want it.
It would be great.
Yeah.
Be adorable.
Nintendo would screw it up somehow.
There's a lot of that. Yeah, I mean, in my heart somewhere, where my old heart, I'm like, I still sort of want a Pokemon MMO, but not really anymore.
No.
Oh.
Yeah, my heart too old. I say that, and then like tomorrow they're like, coming soon, Pokemon MMO, and I'd be like, here's my money.
You know what? Pokemon Go is basically
wallet
an MMO.
open.
Sort of, but it's not the same.
It's not the same because it's a real life MMO.
That's the worst.
Wait a minute.
The worst kind of MMO.
If it's a real life game, does that still count as online? Like you're technically using internet connection, but it's not online, really.
Massively multiplayer. It would just be an MM game, I guess.
But that's like,
But
I don't want to think about it. I don't want to think about it because then it just look. I need like the veil of disbelief
anonymity?
to be maintained. I need to like the suspension of disbelief, and there for that reason alone, it has to be online. I don't want to start mixing real life with my games because it'll get real screwed up. Just
It would be a horrible game to get mixed with real life.
I sure do.
Hitman.
And by horrible, you mean amazing.
Oh, so you want to be the hit? Okay.
I want to be the hit. Sure.
Yeah, you want to be the hit.
It's the millennial. It's the millennial dream.
Depressing but understandable.
The millennial dream. No, I just want to be able to. Wow, sorry. I just want to be able to throw a suitcase at somebody, a lethal suitcase, and have them jet ski around faster than the suitcase can travel. But the suitcase is destined to kill this man, so it has to home in on them. And that's Hitman 2, but who knows what Hitman 3 could bring. All sorts of insanity. I'm super looking forward to it. It comes out this month, but I'm probably not going to get a day one. Yeah,
so within the next 2 weeks, you say?
In the next 4 days, I say.
Just want.
Wow, it just keeps getting sooner and sooner. At this rate, it's going to be tomorrow.
Nance, we're going to just keep on talking about all the games that we can play that you can't.
Yeah.
How about that?
Like Undertale.
I loved Undertale.
Or Galaga.
Galaga. Or
yeah, those high graphics that your puny computer can't run. Like Asteroids.
Asteroids.
Yeah.
Or Lunar
Yeah.
Lander.
What's a game that you haven't played in a while, but you'd want to play again?
Tales of Symphonia.
Symphonia, okay.
Really?
Hell yeah. Here's the thing about Tales of Symphonia. It is my favorite game. It's been like 3 or 4 years since I've played it. I will absolutely play it again.
Right.
Any given time.
Okay.
Dragon's Crown by the same nature, because it's the kind of game that you can just like pick up, go through a few dungeons, have some fun, be a tiny ass buff dwarf throwing around giant enemies. Yeah, that'd be great.
What about you, Nancy?
One of the very first video games I ever played was on the TurboGrafx, and it was called Bonk's Revenge, and I would love to play that
Terrifying.
again.
All of those words, just terrifying words. Turbo. Oh god, the turbo. I remember that.
The
Yeah.
TurboGrafx.
Actually, a better
Yeah, I
question
don't
would
know.
be, what's a game that you wish you could replay right now, that you, like, obviously you've completed before or whatever, but you wish that you could replay right now with a fresh, like, experience, like you've never played it before?
Tales of Symphonia.
The
So
original Crystal Chronicles.
Ooh.
I know that we've railed about the multiplayer experience of Crystal Chronicles before.
Oh,
Yeah.
totally. But it was
Yeah.
still a fun game when you had all the pieces. Oh my goodness.
Oh my.
I'm
Straight
trying to
up,
think of what mine would be.
Crystal Chronicles was the best multiplayer experience on the GameCube. I would go as far as to say one of the best gaming experiences on the GameCube in multiplayer.
It was just so darn expensive.
Mine
Yeah.
might be like Diablo 2.
Oh,
on
yeah.
the basis that I could also get my friends to play, like at the time, just like the whole experience I had back then was amazing.
Yeah, so if I could have Crystal Chronicles plus all of the gear required to make that work, yeah, that would be a fantastic weekend right there.
Weekend? You don't play it for a weekend?
I would probably finish the whole game in a
I
weekend.
mean,
I'm not saying you wouldn't
when you're
finish the game in
talking
a
about
weekend,
a whole
but-
48 hours. That's you can do it.
I
in that.
probably wouldn't get a whole lot of sleep either,
No.
because that was such a fun game.
And on this whole note, what is the first game you're gonna play once you get your laptop back?
Probably more Cyberpunk. I have some stat adjusting to do.
Oh
Fair
yeah,
enough.
interesting.
Yeah, I kind of had a not great build, like considering that.
It is rough. There's a lot of branches.
Yeah, there's a lot of branches, but when it's your first playthrough, you also just don't know how you want to play the game yet. And by the time you
It's
figure
true.
that out, you probably have done it wrong by then.
I think there's another hotfix patch coming out soon.
Yeah, in a couple of days, I think.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Not because I think it needs it on PC necessarily, but every improvement's going to be good for it. And I'm still having fun with it.
Did you
So-
hear that it was supposed to be originally a third person, just like Witcher?
I have not heard that because in a lot of the marketing, it was always first person.
I stumbled on a thread of things that the developers sort of brought up,
Right.
and one of them was that it was originally developed as a third person, and I'm like, oh, I would have preferred it in third person, actually.
What if
I
it were
just-
like
I-
Skyrim, where you could like play third person but then zoom into first?
Yeah.
There's a mod to make it third person. Like right now, there's a mod for
Oh, yeah.
it.
It's not hard.
But it's not good. Like it doesn't work properly. But
No, probably not.
Mhm.
I'm sort of in between because like I don't love third person shooters. That's the problem that I have with it, is that it would be a shooter. The difference between like Skyrim, like it's not as bad with like the bow and arrow, but it is bad with like machine guns and a lot of ricochet.
Jay, did you ever play third person Overwatch?
Sorry?
Did you ever play third person Overwatch?
No, that's probably after my time. I recently watched someone stream it. I watched a friend stream it, and I was like, I can't
extremely
imagine
frustrating.
playing. I can't imagine playing Overwatch again.
Like
to be
it's just a
totally honest.
workshop mode, so it's
Yeah.
not like an official
Official?
supported
Yeah, yeah.
gameplay.
Yeah,
But the reality
It's
is,
bad.
even though you can go third person,
yeah.
the crosshair doesn't exactly line up with where you're shooting all the time.
Oof.
Really?
That might be
That's
important.
not good.
That might be important in an esports competitive
like-
e-shooty games.
Well,
Yeah, that
it's a workshop
aiming?
mode. You
No.
would never play it in competitive. But the
Yeah.
biggest issue was like something could be in front of you and could block your bullets, but
And
it
you
wouldn't
wouldn't know.
look like it was there.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
I would say that a lot of the gameplay mechanics in Cyberpunk, real quick here, is that they could be done in a third-person way, but the shooting alone, because I know how it is definitely not something I would want to do in that game in third person. But at the same time, I don't want to be brought into first person every time I'm trying to shoot something. So I also don't shoot things in general in that game, but I'm just saying.
Fair.
That's not my playstyle.
Anyway, what I'm saying is that I'm not a huge fan of like first person shooting. I guess I'm the opposite of you, but
I grew up on
Yeah.
first person shooters. I really did.
I can tell.
I'm more about those second person shooters personally.
Yeah.
I like it when I'm the person being shot.
Oh yeah.
Just like Hit.
Oh yeah.
You mean just like Hitman? Being the hit?
Angelo, we've talked about this.
Yeah, we just talked about this, and you criticized me, but then you
we've
were like,
talked
now
about
I see it.
this.
Yeah.
Oh man.
All right. On that note, I think we'll call it. Thank you for joining us.
Thank
to
you,
catch you
second
next time.
person, for listening to our podcast.
Indeed. Thank you for
Yep.
being a fantastic second person listener.
Don't be a first person listener. That's
I,
disgusting.
for one, prefer to be the third person listener.
You
Whoa.
watch someone listen to something, or you listen to someone listening to something.
You
else?
listen to someone
Jeez.
listening to something.
God, it's just.
Oh no.
Okay,
Oh,
I'm
no.
cool. I'm done breaking my brain. All right, have a good night.
Okay.
Night
All
night.
right.
Take care,
Good
everyone.
night, everyone.